Yeah. Now, new figures out today show last year was one of the Earth's warmest on record. Over the past year, there have also been extremes at the other end of the scale, with January's polar vortex triggering sub-zero temperatures in every American state. Well, for more on this, with me is Richard Allen, Professor of Climate Science at the University of Reading. And we're also joined by, in Baños in Ecuador, extreme weather watcher Mike Tice. Mike Tice, let me come to you first of all. You know, as someone who likes following extreme weather, you've had quite a lot to chase of late.
Oh yes, 2013 was a crazy year. We had the largest ever tornado on record, 2.6 miles wide in Tornado Alley, and we had the worst ever and strongest ever tropical cyclone on planet Earth.
And what do you put this down to? Do you just think this is weather and you're a guy who's going to be there to record and film it, or do you think that something more significant is going on?
Well, you know, we've been keeping records. Let's use the example of tropical cyclones. For 160 years, planet Earth is 4.5 billion years old, roughly. So it's hard to gauge exactly if things are getting worse or if this is just a natural trend. But I can tell you what is getting worse is more people are moving to the coastlines, to the disaster zones. So with more people and natural disasters continuing, things are going to get a lot worse.
So you're saying we don't know whether it's climate change yet, but it may be a bit dumb when we do seem to have these weather systems for people to be moving next to the water.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you know, 99.9% of the time when you live on the coastline, it's beautiful. You wake up to the, you know, the ocean, the sunrise, sunset. But you know, you have a price to pay with hurricanes coming your direction. Unfortunately, people keep multiplying and, you know, you can't stop that. So where's everybody going to live? And disasters happen everywhere in the world. No matter where you live, everybody has to put up with some kind of a disaster. So all we can do is adapt to these. OK,
Richard Allen in the studio. Thanks for waiting to come in. I mean, what do you think of it? Do you think that it's too soon to say? You know, when you look at the age of the Earth and the very comparatively very, very short time that we've been keeping data.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, that the age of the Earth, that we're at this very tiny end point. So things that happened millions of years ago aren't necessarily relevant to today. But what we can say today, we've got more information coming in, so we're aware of more extremes going on. But as well as that, we've got you know, the physics that we put into complex simulations and observations are beginning to suggest some aspects of our extreme weather is becoming more extreme, and it's partly relating to the increases in greenhouse gases that we're putting in the atmosphere. So
you know, the question, people were told that global warming, everything would get warmer, and then if you're in North America and you're in the polar vortex, you think, what? What's all this about? Yeah. And maybe, you know, scientists have just been using the wrong language to describe what is going on.
Well, maybe, but I mean, there's a conflict between natural fluctuations, which have always happened in the climate system and always will, and the long-term changes that are being driven by human activity. So there's the two going on at the same time. And, you know, this polar vortex and the jet stream, it links with extremes. So you can get very wet weather in the UK, droughts in California, cold weather in North America. It's all linked by the weather patterns. We know about this, but climate change can impact how extreme some of these weather patterns are.
When sort of climate change a few years ago was kind of, you know, right at the top of the political agenda, in the years of economic growth when people were prepared to countenance sort of all sorts of policies to tackle it, people described climate change in a way that I think has been different to people's experience of it today, which is not just one thing, everything getting warmer, suddenly in Britain we'd have subtropical plants growing and all the rest of it. It hasn't been that, it's been that we've suddenly seen weather that seems to be crazy.
Yeah. Weather can always be crazy, it's always had these natural fluctuations, but I don't think you can wait for some, you know, it to be blindingly obvious that some aspects of the extremes are to do with climate change or not. You've got to look at the physics and the science, and the science has been assessed in quite a bit of detail, for example, by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Yeah, Mike Tice, let me just come back to you there in Baños in Ecuador. What is the excitement of chasing storm systems, of chasing tornadoes? I think we've got some film, actually, that I hope we're able to show of some of you. Maybe we've already shown it below. There we are. That's you. This is you kind of on the road filming. Aren't you in fear of your own life when you're doing this?
Well, you know, for me, it's two things. For one, it's a challenge because it's not easy to document these things. And a lot of times they go undocumented visually on video. And I believe that seeing is believing. And when people see these things happening, the next time this certain disaster is heading their way, they might evacuate. They might take it more serious. So that's the other aspect that I want to feel like I'm helping people and hopefully maybe even saving lives because I'm helping educate the general public on disasters.
OK, Mike Tice in Ecuador, Richard Allen with me here in the studio. Both of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. Do stay with us here on Global. We're going to be